The twin suns of Varith Prime burned like white-hot spears across the sky, turning the marketplace into a shimmering sea of heat. Merchants shouted from every corner. Machines hummed. Alien crowds moved in tight waves, all avoiding one spot. A towering metal platform near the central gate. On that platform stood Rika of Clan Salyuan, the largest female warrior produced by her species in the last 200 cycles. Her shadow alone frightened most males. Her size, her strength, her brutal record in combat. All of it forced others to step back whenever she walked through the city. But today, she wasn't feared. Today, she was rejected. Dozens of alien males stood at a distance, whispering, pointing, laughing quietly. No one dared come near her. Not one suitor. Not one offer. Not even a respectful greeting. The heat pressed down on her armored shoulders as she faced the empty selection ground. For the first time, a warrior like her looked small. Rika's claws tightened around the ceremonial staff she was required to hold. The metal cracked under her grip, but she didn't care. The elders insisted she participate in this useless ritual, stand here on display, wait for some male to choose her, pretend she needed their approval. Her chest felt tight. She could hear their words, even through the crowd noise. Too big. She'll crush a mate during bonding. No male wants a warrior who looks like a walking fortress. She could carry 3 of us at once. Who would dare? Rika lowered her head slightly. Only slightly. Enough to hide the flicker of pain in her eyes. She had fought beasts twice her size. She had survived battles that wiped out entire platoons. She had broken siege engines with her bare hands. But today, the cowardice of others cut deeper than any blade. Then movement. A tiny figure pushed through the crowd. Not an alien. Not one of her kind. A human. A small male, slender, not armored, carrying nothing but a simple pack over his shoulder. His boots scraped the hot ground as he walked straight toward her, not avoiding her like the others, not flinching, not even slowing down. The crowd froze. Whispers died instantly. Humans were rare on Varith Prime. And a human male willingly approaching a massive Salyuan female? That was madness. Everyone expected him to stop, turn around, or faint from fear. But he didn't. He kept walking. Calm. Steady. As if he were approaching a lost friend instead of the most intimidating warrior on the planet. Rika stared at him, her pulse pounding in confusion. Human, she growled softly. You move toward danger. The man stopped right in front of her. Close enough that her shadow fell completely over him. Close enough to see the sun's reflection in his eyes. And then he smiled. A small, warm, fearless smile. A smile no alien male had ever dared show her. My name is Jared, he said quietly. And you look like someone who deserves better than being judged from a distance. The marketplace fell silent. The elders gasped. Rika's heart kicked against her chest. She had no idea what she was supposed to say. No idea why his simple smile felt more powerful than any weapon she had ever held. The human didn't step back. He didn't tremble. He didn't look away. He just stood there, tiny compared to her massive form, fragile next to her armor, yet somehow unbroken, somehow unafraid. Rika felt something she had never felt before on a battlefield. A spark, a question, a possibility. And then Jared spoke again, his voice steady, gentle, and completely out of place in the burning heat. Do you want to leave this place with me? Her breath caught. The entire marketplace held its breath with her. Because everyone understood one thing in that moment. A human had just done what no alien male ever dared. He approached her. He smiled at her. And he wasn't afraid. Rika didn't answer right away. Her huge form remained perfectly still, but inside, her thoughts crashed like thunder. A human male? Asking her to leave with him? It did not make sense. It broke every rule her people followed. It challenged every fear the males carried. The crowd waited, silent, watching. Jared didn't move either. He simply looked up at her, calm and steady, as if the heat, the tension, the angry elders, none of it bothered him. Rika finally spoke, her voice deep and cautious. You do not fear my size. No, Jared replied. I fear being a coward who walks away from someone who looks alone. The words hit her like a punch. Alone. A warrior of her rank should never feel that word. Yet standing here she did. The elders stepped forward, their robes brushing against the platform. Elder Tavrek snarled, Human, step away. You insult our traditions. Rika's eyes snapped toward them. the first flash of anger she had shown all day. But Jared didn't step back. Instead, he tilted his head and asked softly, "Is she property? Or a person?" The crowd gasped again. Rika inhaled sharply. No one, no male, no citizen, no warrior, had ever questioned the ritual so directly. The elders bristled like cornered beasts. "She is a warrior of Clan Saluan." Elder Tavrex barked. "She will be matched according to our customs." "Then why is she standing here alone?" Jared replied, "If your customs were fair, someone would have chosen her." The words cut deeper than any blade. Even Rika felt her throat tighten. The elders didn't know how to respond. The crowd whispered, confused and uncomfortable. Some aliens stared at Jared as if he had just challenged a god. Rika lowered her gaze toward the small human again. "Why do you defend me?" she asked, her voice quieter now, touched with something unfamiliar. "Because strength isn't something to fear," Jared said. "It's something to stand beside." Her heart thumped hard. The warmth in his voice felt unreal. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had looked at her without fear or disgust. Jared extended his hand. Small, bare, completely fragile compared to her massive fist. But steady, unshaking, inviting. The elders shouted, "Do not touch him. The human insults the ritual. Send him away. Call the guards." Rika's jaw clenched. Her species trained her to crush enemies on command, but she wasn't trained for this, for choosing between tradition and the first being who treated her like more than a monster. Jared whispered, "Rika, you don't have to stay here." Something in her chest cracked open. For years, she believed she was born to fight, to lead, to defend her clan, but never to choose her own life. Her strength made her respected on the battlefield, yet unwanted everywhere else. But this small human saw her differently. Not as a weapon, not as a burden, not as a threat, but as a person. Slowly, very slowly, Rika lifted her giant hand. The crowd panicked. "No, she cannot accept. This breaks ancient law." Her claws hovered inches above Jared's palm. The suns blazed overhead. Heat shimmered. The entire marketplace fell into a breathless silence. Then Rika spoke 4 simple words. "I will go with him." And she placed her hand gently into his. The ground seemed to shake, half from her weight, half from the shock spreading through every witness. Jared smiled softly, not proud, not arrogant, just relieved. The elders trembled with fury. "This union is forbidden." Jared looked at them calmly. "Then maybe your laws fear something they shouldn't." Rika stepped down from the platform, towering over the crowd, her hand still wrapped around Jared's. With every step, hundreds of eyes followed her. Some held fear, some held anger, but others held something new. Curiosity, hope, wonder, because everyone had just witnessed the impossible. A human had chosen the warrior no one else dared approach, and she had chosen him back. Together, they walked into the blazing sunlight, 2 figures who defied an entire planet simply by standing beside each other. They didn't know it yet, but this single choice would ignite a storm across the galaxy. Rika and Jared walked away from the marketplace, leaving behind gasps, shouts, and stunned silence. The heat from the twin suns pressed against their backs, but neither of them looked back. For the first time in her life, Rika felt something strange and unfamiliar. Freedom. Her massive footsteps thudded against the stone roads. Jared walked right beside her, his stride much smaller, but steady and confident. Every alien they passed stared, as if witnessing a forbidden miracle. Jared finally spoke, voice calm, almost casual. "Do you want to tell me where we're going?" "I do not know," Rika admitted. "I have never walked away from the elders before." "Well," Jared said with a small grin. "First time for everything." She didn't understand why his smile affected her so deeply. A simple human expression, yet it made her armor feel lighter, her chest less tight. But peace didn't last long. A thunderous roar echoed across the dusty street. A formation of armored guards marched toward them, heavy boots shaking the ground. Their metal shields bore the mark of the High Council, and their weapons were not ceremonial. They were here for war. Rika instinctively moved in front of Jared, her huge body shielding him completely. Her claws curled, ready to tear through steel if necessary. Jared peeked around her elbow. "I'm guessing they're not here to congratulate us." "They intend to drag me back," Rika growled. "And they will harm you to do it." The guard stopped several paces away. Their captain, A tall alien with a jagged crest on his skull pointed his spear at Rika. Warrior Rika, step away from the human and surrender. You have violated clan tradition. Rika did not move. Jared whispered, we can talk to them. No, she replied. They do not speak. They obey. The captain snarled. This human has corrupted you. He will be taken for questioning. Rika's muscles locked. She remembered the council's questioning chambers. Few came out whole. Before she could react, Jared stepped forward, incredibly, stepping out from behind her protection. Rika's heart nearly stopped. Jared, do not. But he faced the guards like a calm storm. She didn't violate anything, he said firmly. She just made a choice. Something every person should have the right to make. The guards hesitated, not out of respect, out of confusion. They weren't used to humans speaking so boldly. They weren't used to small creatures standing in front of giants. They weren't used to anyone challenging their authority. The captain's eyes narrowed. Human, you misunderstand your place on this world. Rika placed her massive hand gently on Jared's shoulder, pulling him back behind her. Your bravery is foolish, she whispered. But it is appreciated. The guards advanced, weapons glowing with charge. Rika stepped into a battle stance, wide, grounded, immovable. I will break anyone who tries to touch him. Jared looked up at her. You don't have to fight them alone. Yes, she said. I do. The captain raised his arm to signal the attack. But then a strange vibration rolled through the ground, making dust jump in small rings around their feet. The guards paused. Another tremor. Then another. A deep rumble, like a giant creature breathing beneath the surface. Rika's eyes widened. This is not the guards, she whispered. Something else is coming. The street cracked. Sand spilled upward. The tremor grew so strong Jared had to grab her armor to stay upright. What is it? He shouted. Rika stared at the widening crack in horror. A desert burrower. A large one. They are attracted to loud troop movements. The ground split open. A massive spiral of dust shot upward, and from the darkness below, a monstrous creature surged out. Dozens of claws. Rows of teeth. A screaming roar that shook the city walls. The guards panicked instantly. Retreat. Fall back. It is a titan burrow. Jared stumbled back, eyes wide. That thing's the size of a ship. Rika didn't retreat. She planted her feet firmly. This creature senses fear, she said. If we run, it will hunt us. And if we stay? Jared asked. A slow smile touched Rika's lips, not of joy, but of pure warrior instinct. Then we make it fear us. The monstrous burrower lunged, its shadow swallowing them whole. The guards scattered, but the human and the giant warrior stood side by side, against something that even armies feared. And for the first time, Jared realized something. He hadn't chosen a dangerous woman. He had chosen the only being in the city capable of protecting him from what was coming next. The titan burrower roared again, a sound so deep it felt like the air itself was shaking apart. Dust swirled around its massive body as its claws slammed into the ground, carving trenches through the stone road. Entire buildings trembled. Shutters snapped off windows. Market tents flew like paper in the wind. Rika stepped forward, placing herself between the creature and the human she had chosen to protect. Her armor rattled. Her muscles tensed like coiled cables. Her eyes locked on the burrower's pulsing throat. Jared stood just behind her, heart pounding so hard he felt it in his fingertips. Rika, please tell me you've fought one of these before. She didn't look back. Yes. And you survived? She hesitated for half a second. Once. Jared swallowed hard. Great. Wonderful. No pressure. The burrower lunged with horrifying speed for something its size. Its claws swept sideways, ripping through the road like it was soft sand. Rika reacted instantly. She grabbed Jared by the shoulder, swinging him behind a broken stone pillar. Stay down. The claw slammed into the ground where Jared had stood seconds earlier, sending debris flying. Jared ducked as chunks of rock hissed past his head. Rika didn't retreat. She charged. Her massive legs slammed into the ground as she sprinted, leaving deep footprints behind her. The burrower reared up, surprised by her daring approach. Most warriors ran. She ran toward danger. She leaped, claws raised high, and slashed across its armored face. A blast of blue blood sprayed, sizzling where it landed. Jared stared in shock. You cut it. Rika landed in a crouch, her breath sharp. Its armor has weak points. Aim for the joints and the eyes. I don't have a weapon, Jared shouted. You have your mind, she replied. He didn't know what she meant. Not yet. The burrower shrieked and came crashing down again, jaws wide. Rika dodged to the side, rolling across the dirt, then sprang up to face it again. She was fast, unbelievably fast for someone her size. Guards peeked from distant alleys, terrified. None dared help. The burrower struck again. This time, its claw clipped Rika's shoulder, ripping a chunk of her armor away. She staggered, but kept her footing. Jared saw blood. Not blue like the burrower's. Dark red. Human red. RHYK, he shouted, running toward her. She raised a hand to stop him. Stay back. You cannot fight this. No, Jared said through clenched teeth. But I can think. He scanned the street. His eyes darted from object to object, searching for something, anything he could use. The creature burrowed underground. It followed vibrations. It reacted to sound. Sound. His gaze fell on a broken merchant stall, filled with metal canisters, cracked wiring, and a half-charged energy battery. Jared sprinted to it, ignoring the shaking ground. He ripped the battery free, sparks snapping across his fingers. Rika shouted, "What are you doing?" "Buying us 10 seconds." He slammed the battery into the ground, twisting the exposed wires together. The device screamed loudly, letting out an ear-splitting electronic shriek. The burrower whipped toward the sound instantly. It lunged, right where Jared stood. Rika's heart froze. Jared, but the human dove aside at the last second, rolling across the dirt as the monster smashed face-first into the battery. The blast of noise disoriented the creature, sending tremors through its body. Rika seized her moment. She ran. She jumped. She landed on the burrower's head with a thunderous crack and drove her claws deep into the soft tissue near its eyes. The monster shrieked in agony, slamming its head back and forth, but Rika held on, her muscles straining. Jared scrambled to his feet and picked up a loose metal rod. He ran toward the beast, not to fight it, but to help Rika keep her balance. He jammed the rod into the creature's jaw hinge, forcing it open as it tried to bite her. It worked. The burrower thrashed violently, weakened, blinded, losing control. Rika roared, a sound that echoed across the entire district, and drove her claws straight through the creature's skull. Silence hit the street. Dust settled slowly around them. The burrower collapsed with a heavy thud, its giant body twitching once, then going still. Rika slid down its side, exhausted but standing. Jared reached her first, grabbing her arm. "Are you?" "I am alive," she said. But then she surprised him. She placed a massive hand over his small one and whispered, "Your mind saved us both." The HFY spark burned bright between them in that moment. But their victory was short-lived, because from the shadows behind them, a new sound rose. Boots. Dozens of them. The guards were returning, and they weren't alone. The dust from the slain Titan burrower had barely settled when the sound of marching boots filled the air. Heavy, rhythmical, angry. Rika turned slowly, muscles still tense from the fight, her claws stained with blue monster blood. A full squad of High Council enforcers stepped into the destroyed street. Not 10, not 20, more than 50. Their armor glowed with fresh power, polished for intimidation. Their shields carried the crimson crest of the Council's elite. And at their center stood someone Rika hoped she would never see again. Commander Ralvek, her former instructor, her former superior, the only warrior who ever defeated her in training. He looked at her with cold, sharp eyes. "Rika of Clan Salyuan, you were warned to obey tradition. Yet here you stand, killing city beasts, destroying public property, and protecting a human." Rika stepped in front of Jared immediately. Jared whispered, "Please tell me he's the reasonable type." "No," Rika muttered. "He is the type who breaks bones to make a point." Ralvek raised a hand. The entire squad aimed their shock spears at Rika and Jared. Jared's breath hitched. "Okay, definitely not reasonable." Rika lifted her chin. "If you want me, take me. Leave the human." Ralvek's expression twitched. Not anger, not surprise, something sharper. "I knew it. You've bonded with him." Rika froze. The crowd gathering at the edge of the ruins murmured in shock. Bonding between species was rare and extremely forbidden. Rika felt her heart pound in her chest. "That is a lie," she said quickly. "I protected him because he was in danger." Ralvek smirked. "Then allow me to test that." He flicked 2 fingers. Four enforcers rushed forward and grabbed Jared before Rika could react. They slammed him to the ground, metal restraints snapping around his wrists. Rika snarled, stepping forward. But 20 spears pointed at her chest instantly. Ralvek walked toward Jared, boots crunching over broken stone. He crouched down, studying the human like a specimen. You protected her, he said. You stood beside her in combat. You interfered with our laws. Jared met his eyes without fear. Because your laws are wrong. The enforcers hissed with outrage. Ralvek grabbed Jared's shirt collar and lifted him slightly off the ground. You are very brave for something so fragile. Fragile things, Jared said calmly, survive by being smart. Before Ralvek could react, Jared slammed his forehead forward. A human headbutt. Painful. Stupid. And exactly the distraction Rika needed. Ralvek reeled back with a snarl. Rika exploded into motion, knocking 2 spears aside and sending an enforcer flying with a single punch. Her roar shook the street. But numbers beat strength. 10 soldiers crashed into her at once. Shock spears discharged. Electricity burst across her armor. Rika screamed as energy tore through her muscles. She fell to one knee, claws digging into the ground. Rika, Jared shouted. Ralvek wiped blood from his lip, fury burning in his eyes. Enough, he signaled. A shock spear slammed into Rika's back. She collapsed fully, body twitching, unable to rise. Jared fought against his restraints, unable to reach her. Stop hurting her. Ralvek lowered his face, close to Jared's. You caused this. Your presence has corrupted a warrior of Salyuan. For that, you will be taken to the council chamber. They will decide your fate. Jared's voice dropped to a cold whisper. I'm not afraid of your council. You should be, Ralvek replied. He raised his hand. A transport cage descended from an armored vehicle behind the squad. Enforcers dragged Rika's limp form inside. She tried to lift her head, eyes desperate, searching for Jared. She managed to whisper one word. Run. But the soldiers shoved Jared into a separate cage, sealing it with a crackling energy barrier. He slammed his fists against it. Rika, Ralvek stepped back, pleased. Take them to the central citadel. The elders will deal with both. The cages lifted off the ground. Engines roared. Jared watched helplessly as Rika, barely conscious, reached toward him with one shaking claw. He pressed his hand against the barrier, trying to reach her, even though they couldn't touch. For the first time since he arrived on Vareth Prime, Jared felt fear. Not for himself, for her. And deep inside him, something hardened, something human, something dangerous. Because he understood one thing. If the council wanted to break her, they would have to go through him first. The citadel of Vareth Prime rose like a jagged mountain of metal and glass, its spires stabbing into the orange sky. The twin suns glared against the structure, making it shine like a blade. No outsider had ever entered its inner chambers willingly. Jared didn't enter willingly either. The transport cage slammed onto the citadel floor, shaking his bones. The energy barrier dissolved, and 2 enforcers yanked him out by the arms. He stumbled, but didn't fall. He refused to fall. Across the hangar, another team dragged Rika's huge, injured body toward a reinforced cell. Her steps were uneven. Her breath came in rough gasps. Rika, Jared shouted. She twisted her head weakly, her eyes dim but still focused on him. Jared, you should not be here. Too late for that, he said, voice shaking with anger. Before they could exchange more, metal doors slammed shut between them, cutting off her voice. Jared froze, staring at the sealed barrier. His chest felt tight. He'd never felt so powerless. But that feeling didn't last long. 2 soldiers pushed him into a circular chamber with glowing walls and left without a word. The door slid shut behind him, locking with a heavy thud. Jared stood alone inside a silent interrogation room. Or so he thought. A moment later, a high-pitched hum filled the air. Light ignited overhead, and 3 elders appeared behind a transparent shield, their robes marked with symbols of law and authority. The center elder stepped forward. Human, you have interfered with sacred tradition. You have weakened a Salyuan warrior. You have caused public chaos. Jared stared back, unflinching. I saved lives today. I helped defeat a monster your own guards ran from. The elder's expression didn't change. Your actions disrupted order. Your order was already broken, Jared said. You treat her like she's dangerous just because she's strong. The elder slammed his staff onto the ground. The room shook. Silence. You stand accused of manipulating a warrior's instincts. Jared stepped forward until he was toe-to-toe with the barrier. You're accusing me because you're afraid of something. And what is that, human? The elder mocked. Jared's voice was calm, steady, and dangerous. You're afraid she chose someone you can't control. The elder stiffened. He was right, and they knew it. Without warning, the floor beneath Jared lit up with bright blue circuits. A pulse of electricity shot up, hitting his legs, then his chest. He gritted his teeth, but didn't scream. They wanted pain. They wanted fear. He gave them neither. The elder leaned forward. Speak the truth. Did you influence her? Jared forced his jaw to unclench. No. She made her own choice. You just didn't like it. The electricity intensified. Jared fell to one knee, breath shaking. Sweat dripped from his forehead. Pain crawled through his muscles like fire, but still he glared up at them. Your strength is low, the elder said coldly. Your species is fragile. Why would a warrior of her rank choose you? Jared answered through clenched teeth. Because strength isn't only in muscle. The shock stopped abruptly. Silence. The eldest elder narrowed his eyes. He does not break easily. Interesting. Humans are known for stubbornness, another elder muttered. Stubbornness. Jared growled, pushing himself back to his feet. No, it's loyalty. The elders stepped back, whispering among themselves. Jared didn't like their tones. Something was wrong. Something planned. And then he heard it. A distant, muffled roar. Rika. She was fighting, injured, restrained, outnumbered, but she was still fighting. Jared slammed his fists against the barrier. Let me see her. One elder turned to him. She resists examination. She refuses to submit to us. She shouldn't submit to you. Jared shouted. She's a warrior, not a tool. The elders exchanged looks. Finally, the center elder spoke. Very well. If you wish to see her, you will see her. A chill ran down Jared's spine. The barrier flickered and dissolved. Enforcers entered the chamber, gripping shock spears, their visors glowing. They surrounded him. Jared stood tall. They grabbed him. He didn't resist. They dragged him through a long corridor toward a massive arena chamber at the Citadel's core. Torches lit the walls. Platforms circled the pit below. And from the center of that pit came a sound that froze Jared's blood. Chains rattling. A heavy, wounded breath. A growl filled with pain and fury. They threw Jared to the edge of the platform. He crawled forward and saw her. Rika, chained, bleeding, barely standing, but still fighting against restraints thicker than his torso. Her eyes lifted and locked onto him. Jared, she whispered. And in that moment, he understood. The council had not brought him here to question him. They had brought him here to break her. The arena lights burned to life, flooding the chamber with harsh white glare. Stone pillars cast long shadows across the sand. High above, the elders stood behind their shields, watching like cold statues. Rika hung from the chains, her giant arms spread apart, metal biting into her wrists. Blue blood dripped from her wounds and splashed onto the ground below. But her eyes, those fierce fire-lit eyes, still searched for one thing. Jared. He stepped to the very edge of the platform. His hands shook, but not from fear. From rage. Ralvek's voice echoed across the arena. Human, witness what your influence has caused. A warrior who refuses her duty. A warrior who disobeys her clan. A warrior who fights for a lesser creature. Rika growled, forcing her head up. He is not lesser. Ralvek ignored her. Your presence weakens her. She must be taught the cost of attachment. Today, we break her spirit. Jared's voice cut through the arena like a blade. You won't break anything. The enforcers around him laughed. Jared didn't. He climbed down into the arena, ignoring the guards who tried to restrain him. He jumped the last few feet, landing hard on the sand. The entire chamber gasped. A human should not stand in an arena meant for warriors. But he did. He walked toward Rika, each step steady. Ralvek snarled. Stop him. Two guards leapt down, blocking Jared's path. They raised their shock spears. Jared didn't back away. You touch me, he said quietly. And you admit your warriors can't face a human without help. The guards froze. Ralvek cursed under his breath. Jared used the moment to keep walking until he was directly beneath Rika. She towered above him, held up by chains thick as tree trunks. He looked up slowly. Rika, I'm here. Her breath hitched. Jared, leave. They will kill you. He shook his head. Not without going through me. Ralvek slammed his staff. Enough. Begin the punishment. The chains glowed, powering up electrical nodes. Rika stiffened, bracing for the agony she knew too well. No, Jared shouted. He grabbed one of the glowing power conduits on the arena floor and kicked it free, sparks exploding around his hands. Every elder froze. Ralvek roared, "Human, you cannot interfere." Jared ripped the conduit from the wall and let it arc wildly, electricity snapping through the air. "Watch me." He threw it aside and ran toward the chain anchors. The elders shouted orders. Enforcers jumped down, but they were too slow. Jared grabbed the chain lock, 3 times larger than his hand, and tackled it with everything he had. His muscles screamed. His bones felt like they were splintering. Rika's eyes widened. "Jared, you will break yourself." "Then I break myself," he growled. "For you." He threw his whole body weight into it. Nothing happened. The lock didn't budge. Ralvek smiled. "You see? Humans are weak. Their loyalty is useless." Jared panted, sweat dripping down his face. His arms trembled. His legs shook. The lock looked impossible. But he looked up at Rika, and he remembered how she shielded him, fought monsters for him, faced armies for him. He tried again. He screamed with effort. The lock bent, just slightly. Ralvek's eyes widened. Impossible. Jared slammed his shoulder into it again. And again. And again. Pain burned through him like fire. His breath came in broken gasps. But he did not stop. Human stubbornness. Human loyalty. Human defiance. With a final roar that didn't sound human at all, Jared drove his entire body into the lock. Crack. Metal split. The chain fell. Rika's right arm was free. Her roar shook the arena. Ralvek shouted, "Stop him. Stop them both." 4 enforcers rushed Jared. He couldn't fight them. He was too tired. Too hurt. But he didn't need to. Because Rika, now with one arm free, ripped the second chain from the wall like it was paper. The arena shook as it crashed down. She dropped to her knees, then pushed herself up with a trembling growl of rage. Her massive form towered above Jared. The enforcers froze. Rika stepped forward, her shadow swallowing them whole. "You touched what is mine to protect." Her fist hit like a falling meteor. One enforcer flew across the arena. Another smashed into a pillar. Ralvek shouted, "Restrain her." No one moved. Jared dragged himself to Rika's side. She bent down, her huge hand wrapping around his body gently, lifting him like something precious. He placed his hand on her cheek, blood and sweat mixing. "You're safe now." Her voice cracked. "Because you freed me." The elders trembled. Their authority collapsed in seconds. Ralvek drew his blade, desperate. "She is too dangerous. Both of them must die." Rika stepped forward, claws gleaming. "You will not touch him." The crowd that gathered above watched in awe. Some whispered in fear. Others, especially younger warriors, watched with shining eyes. A human and a giant warrior standing together against their world. Then Rika looked at Jared. "Shall we leave this place?" He nodded weakly. "Let's go." She lifted him in her arms, turned toward the arena gates. And every enforcer there stepped aside. No orders. No commands. Only fear and respect. Together, the tiny human and the giant warrior walked out of the citadel, leaving shattered chains behind them. And across Verith Prime, a rumor began to rise. A human didn't just smile at the warrior no one dared approach. He saved her. He freed her. And together, they changed everything.